Alrighty guys, how's it going? It is Mr. Extra from Team Extra. So I figured out, since I actually had some time, I will go sit down and give you guys a meta tier list video for like current format. This is not post Rate to the Abyss. I mean, it could be whichever, but this is just as of like right now, right? So here we go, I suppose. So I got some stuff listed here, right? And we're just gonna go into it. So first things first, Plunder Patrol. Where do I want to put Plunder Patrol? I mean, this is obviously Rogue. It's going to be Rogue. But Plunder Patrol's been doing really good lately from what I've seen. A couple tops here and there. Not bad. Rogue, still unique deck. Pretty good, right? Alright, so Snake Eyes. So right now, and we're going to say Snake Eyes and variants. Snake Eyes and variants is probably going to be, I want to put it as a 1.5. I mean, if you count the Fire King variant, then it can definitely still play pretty good due to like post banlist and like where it's currently at right now. But it's still a pretty good representation from what I've seen, either like online or just like at a local level, regionals, stuff like that. And it's not the best deck anymore, but still has the potential to, you know, go on par with this deck. But right now, there's a lot of choices when it comes to that stuff. And this is like in variants, right? So, Snake Eye, Fire King, Fiendsmith, Snake Eye, Fire King, like just as a whole right now. All right, so heroes. Heroes right now, my personal opinion, is Rogue. Yes, it has potential, has OGK potential, but it's more of a pet deck than anything. Just like Plunder Patrol, honestly. These decks have a lot in common right now. But I do think that Hero's still Rogue. It's been a Rogue for a long time. But it needs a really dedicated pilot in order to get the job done, especially in this current format. Alright, Dynamorphia. I'm just gonna... This is probably still Rogue. Hell, I'd put it in tier 2. We're gonna still put it in Rogue. Probably best Rogue right now. Dynamorphia has had a couple tops recently. It does pretty good into the format as well. Doesn't really care so much about Shifter. It's just another trap deck with a bunch of note cards, right? But it's been pretty decent as from what I've seen so far into the format. Plus, my buddy's been topping regionals left and right with it still. But I mean, as the deck as a whole, Rogue requires a really good pilot to play it, someone who's just dedicated to it. But it does play pretty good into the format, in my personal opinion. So next, Dragon Link, I'm gonna say tier 2. And this isn't even me coping, because I really like playing Dragons. Dragons is a fun deck, but I still think like Snake Eye and Tenpai, and well, Tenpai is technically Dragons, but this is like D-Link right here. I just think that there's better choices right now. So I mean, it's still pretty good for like being able to play a bunch of hand traps, bunch of extenders, going into like where the format currently is. Would be Rogue, but I think it's enough to be at least tier 2, because I mean it's still got pretty good representation depending on where you're at. But not amazing, not amazing. Manadium. Manadium is Rogue as well, with Baron being banned, Savage being banned still. Like the deck itself, it could play like I know a guy who plays like Fiendsmith variant with like Yubel Star and then Fiendsmith and then Manadium, and it does pretty good. But I think this deck also requires really good pilot to make that thing happen, or double die to draw. Let's not forget that. Fiendsmith is just free draw, right? And you take Manadium, which already loses a draw, and then add Fiendsmith, and then you got a deck that dies to draw twice. Rogue. Salad's gonna be tier 2. It's been pretty consistent lately, but it's it's going down what it looks like as a decline for representation, right? It's still a really good deck. It still does really good things. I mean, but again, probably either really dedicated pilot or out hand trap your opponent, basically. Still tier 2, though. It's still pretty good. Okay, so now we have Tenpai. Now, Tenpai would definitely be up here, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and drop Snake Eyes down to 1.5. I don't think it's the top one anymore, or the highest up with like Tenpai and other choices. Tenpai right now is amazing, especially with the Dragon Ruler stuff. This deck is really good still. This deck is so good I hate it, but it has a lot of representation. It's got a lot of tops. It's just got a lot of overall good stuff that's been useful for it. Especially with the Dragon Rulers coming back, this deck is even more flexible. And, Shifter deck, guys. Shifter still kills the meta. It is still very strong. But I do think that Tenpai is one of the best decks right now. So let's go ahead and go to Pearly. Pearly is Rogue right now. Pearly doesn't do enough, which is why people aren't really playing it. Again, requires kind of a not really dedicated player, but someone who wants to take the time to try to play Pearly into this format. Which I feel like it's rough because you can only do so much. And I think the Fiendsmith and everything else blows it out of the water, like everything that's currently out. Goblin Bikers, also Rogue. I'm gonna have quite a bit of Rogue on here. Ironically enough, I want to do a nice little spread. So, Goblin Bikers are Rogue, and this is coming from someone who really likes the deck. Now, post Rage of Abyss, that'll probably change, but as of where it stands, it's Rogue. It doesn't do enough. It's decent. It's decent. Kashtira would probably be the best out of the tier 2s right now. Mainly because it is a shifter deck. Prosperity going to 1 didn't affect it. But, I mean, I don't think it matters too much. So, shifter's the opponent. It still has a good chance of winning. Still a really good deck, unfortunately. We got a Sprite. Sprite would be tier 2. It can still do all the same things that it was doing before. It didn't get touched by the ban list, and it had like a recent uptick in representation on like people playing it at regionals and whatnot. It's been popping up a lot more, doing really good. But I mean, yeah, Sprite's still deck. Might be getting better again here soon. I think it's going to get better, honestly. Centurion is tier 2. Probably, I wouldn't say in the back. I'd probably put it up a little bit closer to the front. Now, Centurion without Calamity means I can still make Cosmic Quasar, Blazing Quasar. The other guy that ends up being an additional interruption. Now, the deck's still pretty decent. People are usually just playing variants of it at this point, but I do think that it's a really solid tier 2. Almost standard 1.5. Mostly due to the fact that it can still push out level 12 bodies. It can still Synchro Summon on your turn. It's just not making Calamity, but it can make like Supernova and Quasar, which are pretty annoying. Ice Barriers. Ice Barrier, I want to say, is tier 2. It's had decent representation, more like a local level than anything. But I want to say tier 2 because the deck is decent. I almost feel like it's just strong Rogue, honestly. We're gonna no. I think there's enough representation for it to at least be tier 2 to where it's doing decent. But we can what was I gonna say? We can just assume that it would do better post Rage of the Abyss or the next set coming out anyways. I feel like right now this is just kind of where it's gonna set up for a minute. Mimigul as of right now is 2. Probably I'd actually list it as a Rogue. Right now, pre-rage. Now post-rage, I feel like this is gonna get better. But it also has a real big requirement of the player has to really be dedicated to wanting to play the deck. Plus, it's also another shifter deck, or I can do it via like shifter or like summon limit too. Well, not summon limit, but summoning curse, so to speak. All right, Lightsworn. I do think Lightsworn is 1.5. Requires good player. At most, it could get dropped down to 2. But if it's Lightsworn and variants, I think it would. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I do think that it has the potential to be 1.5, but it's probably actually 2. Honestly, mostly due to the fact that it is a very gamble deck, and you need someone who really knows what they're doing to play it. Someone who plays it. I would love to put tier 1, but that deck loses more to itself than it does to its opponent. Alright, Runic. Runic's 1.5 right now, unfortunately. High representation. Still really good deck. Runic Stun is a deck. I don't know why they still let people do it. Overall, it's still pretty crazy. Voiceless Voice. Well, not Voiceless Voice, but that's next. I was looking at the bottom. Whitewoods. Whitewoods is easily good 1.5 right now. I actually think that this post Rage might actually move up to being like one of the best decks right now. But so Whitewoods is really good, really resilient. Synchro summon on your opponent's turn. It's another really good deck. Has good representation. Has a lot of 1-card combos. It could like drop Gravity Collapse, for example, in the graveyard, and then grab it and put it in their hand, or do Dark Ruler that way, or anything fancy like that. It's a really good deck. I do think it's better than Runic, but I just am a little biased against Runic. Voiceless Voice, right now this deck is tier 2. It is damn near rogue, and it's just enough representation for it to be, it to matter. Deck needs work. Crosby being the one. I don't think the deck does enough right now, honestly. Branded's going to be 1.5. Even with Branded Fusion limited to 1. I mean, the deck's still doing good without it so far. The Banlist wasn't that super long ago, but I mean, it's been enough time to get some data out of it. But still overall, still really good deck. Just, it's out there doing the same thing it always does. Memento. Now this deck, from what I've heard and like what I've seen in the like regional statistics and everything, Memento's had a really good representation lately, and it's actually winning. Now I don't know exactly how Memento's winning. I haven't played against a really good player for that yet. Just people are topping regionals with it. The Memento is probably a good 1.5 right now, just because apparently it sets up a pretty good board, honestly. Exodia deck, I'm just going to make this one quick. Rogue, drops out the big fusion monster. The deck loses to Imperm. Can play Shifter, though. Labyrinth. Labyrinth's going to be a nice tier 2. Tier 2 trap deck, still pretty good. Not as effective as it was the format before. But, I mean, if you let a lab player cook, you're probably going to lose. Or, get looped with Vermin Cannon or D-Berry, depending on what they need. Fire King, I'd put in Rogue right now, mostly due to the fact that as of right now, it's gonna just end up getting meshed with Snake Eyes. Your Fire King is actually not great. Muskets with Fiendsmith would probably go up to 1.5, but Muskets as a deck, I feel like, is just gonna be tier 2, but it's gonna have Fiendsmith in it, or it's gonna be a lot worse, like Rogue. Yubel. Yubel is the best deck in the room right now. Has representation, most recent wins. It's just the best deck in the room. It's a stupid deck. Very strong. It feels disgusting playing it when your ratios are all good and you're actually getting some super good hands. It's just overall. Tier, Rogue, you're coping. That's all I can say. But that does it. If I missed any of your guys' deck types or anything like that, let me know in the comments below. Make it easier just so I don't miss them for the next the list. I'm gonna try to make this like a more consistent thing because usually things come up or get too busy. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the content.